In my last video on intuitive process, I showed you how to get started on a painting in a very unusual way, and we did lots of different things. If you haven't seen that video, then I would recommend you having a look at it. But in this video, I'm following on. So we started off doing an interesting background and doing some interesting things with some masking tape, which we got to. These are two little pictures. You can't really see it on camera. And then I showed you a big one like this. Now, you know, it's great to do lovely backgrounds, and that bit is easy. You know, we can play, we can do different layers, experiment with colours, but then what do we do? So in this video, I'm going to show you what I do with my process to help you maybe do something similar or discover your own. I'm Joy Fahey. I'm an artist and teacher, and I love teaching art, and I've been doing it for very many years and helping people develop their creativity and their skills and their confidence in painting. So let's see what's going to happen with these paintings. It's always an exciting journey. And actually, this video I'm filming on the 1st of January 2024. I know you might be watching it later, but it's great for me to start the year off with something creative and fun and interesting, and to share with you some of the processes that can really excel your painting and your art and give you tons of satisfaction with your paintings. Okay, let's get started. So before I begin the actual painting, I'm just going to show you what I'm using. I've got my wet palette here. And if you haven't seen this before, I've got like a rag underneath it that's very wet. Put my acrylics on top, and I've got a lid for it, and it means that if I haven't used all the paint, I can keep the paints wet for a considerably long time. So I've got a nice group of colours here. Obviously I've got white, cadmium red, cadmium yellow. I've got a beautiful rose pink. I've got a phthalo green, ultramarine blue, and primary blue. So I just put those colours out to start with. And but my real loves are the oranges. And actually, when I spoke to you on the last video, I showed you I was using some Day Glow orange, and I might just use that too, which is here. And it's such an amazing colour, you can see. And so that's my palette. I've also got a whole different array of brushes, different size brushes, and you know, I'm a great advocate of saying have as many brushes around as you can. So you can see I've got a 1-inch gesso brush, 1.5 inch, and 2 inches, and I've got a flat brush which I can use for detail if I want. I've got some silicone brushes. Now I get these off Amazon, and I've got those in 3 sizes. I love using those for all different kinds of things. I've got some little sponges, some brush sponges, and another sponge, and a scraper. And also I've got here some Stabilo crayons. These are lovely. I love using these, and they're water soluble, so you can draw with them, and then you can put some water on them and get some beautiful effects. And China marker. And also I've got some other markers which I might use, but essentially just for this little one to begin with, I don't want to confuse myself with too many things. This one I just want to experiment to use as a prompt for the big one. So I've done an orange and reddy background. I put some tape over, which if you've seen the other video, you'll see I've just put masking tape over, and then I've gone over it with a beautiful magenta pink and magenta red. And now I want to start bringing some structure to it. I've got, you know, some lovely shapes going on, but I want to do some more things with it, and to see where it might take me. I don't want to spend too long on this. This is just kind of to warm me up, ready to go into the into the bigger painting, just to give me some kind of ideas about, you know, what I feel I would like to do. So let's make a start. So I think I'm going to go with the smaller brush to begin with, and I'm just going to damp that down. And one of the other things I've got, you know, we use a lot of kitchen roll, which of course is great, but you know, if I want to use the kitchen roll as you know, to take paint off, I always get a pattern with it, and sometimes that's really nice and I like that, but sometimes I don't want that. So I've got some napkins, and the great thing about the napkins is they're very much thicker, so they're very much more absorbent, and you can do quite a lot more things with napkins. The other thing I have, and I show this quite a lot in my videos, I've got some tissue paper, and I use the tissue paper to take off paint, so I can use it as collage if I want to, which would be great because I might use that on the big painting. So all prepared, let's get started. So what I might just begin with is take one of the Stabilo crayons, and I might, you know, I'm just going to be free drawing. I want to kind of get into the zone of connecting to the painting, and I talk about this a lot, you know, of connecting with what you're doing, because you know, you want to kind of shift from the left side of the brain to the right side of the brain to get into you know, a creative space, so you can let that creativity really kind of come to its own. So I'm kind of going in here. I feel like I'd like to do something with this really heavy red, which is great. Now I've got some lines here from the drawing, and although, you know, I'm not going to stick with them, they're kind of it's quite a good place to begin with, to get you going. And I want to look at different size shapes and different tone values, all those wonderful things that we talk about a lot. But just to begin with, to just get a feel of where this might go, using you know, the colours that I've got here. And I love this pink. It really kind of clashes with the orange, and I like that feeling. And I'm literally just going with the flow of how this will come together, and you know, one to the other. And this is again a great thing to do, rather than just work on one painting, have a few going at the same time, and it keeps it all fresh, stops you from thinking too much about what you're doing, and it kind of really helps the process of your creation. I'm going to use one of my brushes. You can use this for doing all kinds of the silicone brush, interesting things, getting rid of harsh edges, great for blending, and you can, you know, make marks in it. Look at that. It's great how you can suddenly get something really different happening. You know, this is just playing. I'm just warming up before I start the other one. Now I like a lot of the light in this from where I did the tape, so I want to kind of keep some of that, but at the same time I want to break it up a bit. I'm going to take some of this red off here, on here, because I want to go a little bit darker on this side with the deeper red that I have over there. That's lovely. Put this into here, and you know, let's see what happens. It's great just to play and to explore, you know, possibilities. I've got a smaller silicone brush here, and I want to just explore here. I kind of like this here. And you know, it's difficult to talk through all of this because you know, you're in the zone, you're in that creative space where I don't want to have to think. So we've got something really interesting going on there, which I really like. I'm going to take this off here, and I might actually, even on here, use this to do some other things, to create some textures actually on the paper. So, you know, if you like, I'm doing 3 paintings all at once, which is great. Now, obviously it's all very, very red, red, red. So I want to just kind of change it up a little bit, put something a little bit brighter in, and start to make it pop. So I'm going to do that with a little bit of the white. I'm going to mix some of the white, a tiny bit of the pink, just a fraction, and just see where this might go to add some differences. It's kind of fascinating when you start to really play around with how this can work. Let's do something here. And I want to put a splodge of yellow in. You can start to feel that something begins to evolve. You know, I'm not analysing it too much. I just want to allow things to happen and explore those possibilities. And I might go to actually another small brush with some of the white here. I want to sort of add some other depth to it, and then do something else that's drastic, creating a few shapes. And you know, this is just playtime for me, and that's what I really want it to be for you. Playtime for you to not care. It doesn't matter, you know, what it is that you do. The most important thing is the doing of it. So let's just see. Okay, I want to go drastic again. Let's take some of this off here. And let's rinse that off a bit. So what could we do that is drastic on here? I think it would be good to do something with this beautiful phthalo blue. And I'm just looking, just something to add a pop. And that's certainly adding a pop, isn't it? Let's put something over here. Bring it into that white. Yeah, I kind of quite like that. Then, just might add a little bit of white to that. Just as a little bit of contrast. Adding a little that in. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry, and then I might draw into it. It's a bit too wet to draw into now, and I'm going to transfer to the big painting and start playing around with that. But this is a wonderful way to warm up, get started, and get into the zone of playing with your shapes, with your colours, seeing how you feel, and building up the confidence to go on to the bigger painting. Okay, so I've put this painting up on the easel because it's going to be easier to do, and I've turned it portrait because I thought that would be an interesting way. So the first thing I'm going to do is to do a little bit of drawing. You know, we come back to always this idea of drawing on the paper to get back into the feeling of it and to see where it's going to go. So I'm just kind of relaxing into it, see what might develop from just doing some easy drawing. I've got quite a few different interesting lines going on, but I feel as if I want to block quite a lot of it in. So I'm going to go with a bit of red and some magenta, some orange. I'm putting all this on my brush at once, and I might do this with some sponge, but I kind of feel that, you know, it's going to be interesting to just see how this works with this. So you can see I'm using a spray bottle here just to dampen the painting a little, and yeah, I've gone into using a sponge here. You know, it's quicker and it's a glaze, so I don't want it too heavy. I still want to see what's going on underneath. I'm using, you know, all those different brushes that I showed you earlier on. And you know, what's so interesting about doing this kind of intuitive painting is it gives you so much freedom. You know, you can let go of preconceived notions and, you know, just enjoy that freedom that comes with intuitive painting, and really allow your instincts to guide where you're going. You know, I don't have any preconceived idea about this. I just know I wanted to use these color combinations and connect to some, you know, deep feelings within myself and see what it's going to show me. And I think, you know, that's the wonderful thing about this kind of painting, that it starts to show you things that you're, you know, going on underneath, but you hadn't realized maybe. So I'm adding quite a bit of white here to bring some big contrast. It will change. I find that if you put, you know, the white on over the top of deep color, then when you want to paint over it in another color, it's much easier. You know, it would be difficult to paint over, you know, the red with a color to get that pure color. So putting actually white down is necessary, really. And it's, you know, a good foundation. It's quite opaque, this, so it's covering over the background, which is what I wanted. And, you know, you can go from having it really opaque to really translucent, dependent on if you're using some water or mediums. You know, if you use gel medium, you can get a really nice translucent effect with the paint, but or water. So yeah, really bringing some contrast in with this beautiful peach colour, and some shapes are arriving. And you'll be amazed to see what happens with these shapes as the painting unfolds. So I'm blending it in with a combination of the brush and the sponge. So I've got kind of quite an ethereal figure happening here in this very light colour. And, you know, this springs up in my paintings recently quite a lot. And here's another one. So, you know, see what pops up for you. I'm tending at the moment to get quite a lot of different sort of ethereal figures and horses' heads. And I find that so intriguing. You know, it always is fascinating to see where this kind of process takes you, and you know, what manifests itself on the paper. I kind of associate it a bit with dreams. You know, sometimes we can have the weirdest of dreams, and then, you know, think about it and wonder, you know, where has that come from? So I think it's a sort of a similar thing here with the painting. So I've got to this stage of the painting. You know, I take my time. This is over a few days now, and I've done a little bit more to it, not too much, but I like to kind of think about it, feel about it, come and look at it, see what's what, and then maybe go back to the prompt. So this was our little play painting that we started with. And what I like about this is this added colour of the teal and the turquoise, and there's quite a lot of variation in the colour where I look at this and it's basically orange and reds, although the textures are quite nice. And then, you know, looking at the video that I did before when I first started the process, you know, this was the picture that I came up with. And I love all the different kind of tone values and lights and darks in this picture. So I want to then find a way of doing that with this. So I'm going to use some different crayons, some Stabilo crayons and some woodies. Now, I like using the woodies because you get kind of a really nice covering with it, but you can also wet it down and get some different effects. So I'm going to play around with that, and then if you remember, I did some collage paper, so I might possibly use some of the collage paper on that. Basically, I've got the feel of it. I love these kind of two figures that have kind of manifested themselves. I've got sort of like a horse head shape down here, which I like, and that seems to come up in a lot of my paintings when I'm working intuitively in this way. You might find that you get different interesting things that happen in your painting and repeat themselves. Horses seem to be one of them in mine. So I'm going to now carry on and see what happens using the Stabilo crayons, the woody crayons, some collage and some paint, and I'll see how I go. So let's get prepared and get started again. So I have an array of woody crayons here. I've got a green, a lovely teal, an orange, a red, sort of like a pinky and a white. So I'm going to have a play with these and see what happens with me doing some drawing on the top of this and then maybe painting in or putting some collage on. So that's what I'm going to start using, and I'll start with the white. I feel one of the most important things is not to be afraid to experiment and, you know, really kind of push the boundaries, see, you know, where it takes you, use different things on it. You know, you can use so many different textures, so many different crayons and inks and marker pens. You know, it's limitless in so many ways. And you know, if you don't like it, it's wonderful. You can just, you know, paint it over. That's the beauty of using the acrylics. Here I'm doing a few different shapes and blending them in to the background. I don't want them too obvious. And I'm using a bit of the green. Obviously, it's the complementary colour to the red. And then I'm putting some of this teal colour down, which we had in those little paintings, to give it a lift. And you'll see as we go, you know, I start to brighten it up and lift up the colours with, you know, having those colour contrasts, which is so important. You need those values of the lights and the darks. Now I've added quite this kind of fuchsia pink here, which is kind of interesting. It's not going to stay there all the time, but I kind of like the difference. As I said earlier on, I like the clashes between the reds and the oranges and the pinks. I love putting those things together. So we'll see where it goes to from here. So the painting has moved along a little, and I feel as if I'm getting there, but it's too dark. So I want to do some interesting things with it now, which I've not done before. So we're going to experiment to make it more interesting. A new figure has kind of arrived here, which is interesting. But you know, I feel that the background is too dark and there's not enough contrast with this figure and the background. I'm liking this figure. I think this is really interesting, and there's an interesting relationship between the three. I haven't decided quite what it is yet, but we're working on it. But I'm going to do something else up here to give it some more impact. I notice I've got my horse in down here, which I love, the symbology of which I'm going to investigate. But you know, it's layer after layer, keeping going with it and seeing where it's going to take you. And such an interesting process. I love it. So we'll carry on, do a little bit more to the background and see what we can do to lift that figure up a bit, and then we'll finish. Okay. So you'll see here I've put some more masking tape down. You know, this is an experiment just to see what will happen. I feel that what I'd like to do is do some glazing. I've got my sponge here and I've got my colours ready, and I just want to do sort of like a light glaze with maybe some blue, maybe a bit of green, and let's see where it takes me. So let's make a start. I've got a little bit of blue on here. So you can do glazing in different ways. Here I'm just using a little bit of paint mixed with water, but you can certainly use some mediums and you know, do different colours. Transparent colours work really well when you're doing glazing, and you can get some very nice effects from doing it. So I've taken the tape off and it's kind of really come alive in a different way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to still push it further. I'm actually going to use some sandpaper to get rid of some of the harsh edges, soften it down a bit, but I'm really fascinated to see how this is kind of unfolding. It's very interesting painting and fascinating. So I'm going to have a go now with the sandpaper and see what happens. You just have to be a little bit careful with sandpaper, especially because I'm using a paper and not a canvas. So I've added a few finishing touches, as you will see, and I'll drop the picture in here, the photograph which I took outside, so you can see it properly in proper colour. It's come out very brightly on the photographs, but it does give you an idea of some of the textures and the contrasts and the colour values. And I hope you've enjoyed this process of doing an intuitive painting. You know, it's always so surprising what can happen when you do this kind of thing. And, you know, I'm quite fascinated with this picture of, you know, these figures, the background, all the different interesting shapes that have kind of manifested themselves. And you'll find this with your painting. You just have to keep practicing, allowing yourself to go with the flow. Let your creativity really start to take over your mind. You want to move from thinking about it to allowing it, and then you'll be amazed at what can happen. I've got lots of great things on my website. Fabulous courses. If you really want to do a deep dive into developing your skills and your confidence with abstract painting, I have a free mini course as well, so you can always start with that. Check everything out. I'll leave the link in the description below. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you've got any questions, do pop them in the comments. I'm always answering all your questions, and if you like this video, well, you know what to do, and that would be fantastic because it helps me share my videos with a lot more people, and YouTube love it, so that would be great. And if you'd like more videos and tutorials, I bring out at least once a week a new video, sometimes more. But for now, enjoy your painting, get creative, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye for now.